Hey folks, today we're going to get down and dirty. We're going to be tearing down walls and building new ones. Build that wall. When it's time to do the addition, I had code enforcement was constantly riding my tail saying, hey, you need to finish this, you need to finish that. And we ended up using a plumber at the recommendation of someone. And he came out and he said, I'll do it all. I'll do all the plumbing for $2,500. I said, all the plumbing for $2,500? That sounds like a good deal. That means you're running the hot and cold water for the whole house in PEX. That includes the drainage, that's everything. The pipes, the vent pipes. He said, yeah, everything $2,500. I said, cool, let's do it. So he did the rough plumbing. He got that in. I said, okay, cool. The next thing was to get the foundation in. And so the guy who was staying here actually ripped out the foundation around the front door, because part of where the front door was going to be removed. And we wanted to have that all the brand new foundation that was set so that it could actually hold up the walls. So he took all that out and left it bare. Well, that's when we got the rough and plumbing in. I hired the same guy that did the plumbing. He got us a cement contractor, came out and poured the foundation. That was done in just a couple of days. It actually was super fast. It's kind of cool to see it get done real fast. The only problem is they had an issue with the concrete. The concrete, instead of being level with the floor inside the house, it was up about 3/4 of an inch to an inch higher than what the floor was inside the house. Now they couldn't see that, but I think they probably could have been able to measure that and see where it was. But it was flat, and then it kind of rose up against the brick. So that actually has given us a problem while we were building the house. And later on, you'll see when the house is finished that we actually have little lips in there. So it's kind of weird because you can walk around. Anyway, we'll get to that soon enough. After the cement was in, the foundation was laid, it passed inspection. But for the rest of the plumbing issues, or for the framing, the way that the cement was poured, we actually had to break up some of it and redo it again because it didn't line up with what we needed. The other thing is that they didn't put in the anchor bolts they didn't put them in right. So we had to put those in again. At this point, I am still paying cash out of my pocket as I go, and I had to get the framing up. And my buddy that was here living in exchange for rent, he actually ended up moving down south close to where I was. So now I had nobody. I was relying 100% on people that I knew that still lived up here to give me suggestions or to give me referrals on people to come work on the house. And I ended up getting a framer. I found a framer online actually. I came up with my father-in-law and we're like, hey, let's go ahead and do some of this building ourselves if we need to. And when I was up here, we looked to Home Advisor, we looked Craigslist, we looked at an app that he had for getting people to fix things up. We just couldn't find anybody, but we called a bunch of people. Finally, we got one group, and they came out and they said, yeah, we can do this. We're framers, but we can do the roofing too. And honestly, it was my saving grace at the time because I had posted up the framing, but I didn't get the roofing up yet. And the code enforcement guy was relentless. He would send me an email. I'll probably show you guys the email. He sent me an email showing me pictures of another building, and he said, look, we had to condemn this project because they didn't have their wood up. They didn't have their roof up fast enough. And your wood has been sitting out in the weather for a long time. And let me tell you a little bit about that guy, the inspector guy. So this code enforcement guy, he was barraging me. I don't think there's a better way of saying it other than he kept hitting me on stuff, and there was really no need for it. Then what ended up happening was he actually sent me an email and saying, hey, maybe you should sell your property. And by the way, I have somebody who usually buys properties, which I believe is a conflict of interest. It's probably totally out of his purview as a representative of the government to tell me somebody else is willing to buy the property from me and give me a specific referral. Now, I did call the guy. I said, yeah, I would love to sell the property, but I'm not, and the guy's like, okay, I'll give you a good deal. You know what the good deal was? He offered me $10,000 over what I bought it for in the first place. I said, nope, not going to take it. I know it's worth more than that. I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep moving forward. I shouldn't have gotten that referral in the first place. The safety, the building and safety or the code enforcement guy should have left well enough alone. He should have done his job and just said, hey, these are violations, you need to take care of it, and that's it. So I got the framing guys, they came over and they said, oh man, you need this and this and this. And I started looking up in there and said, okay, how much of this can I do? And they said, well, you can do any of it as long as you know how to do it. The roof was sagging in areas a little bit, and it needed bracing pointed up against the roof. It had sat so long that water had come in through the plywood that was up on top of the roof and completely ruined my floor. I had oak floor, and it was awesome. I was going to keep it. I was going to sand it down. It was going to look amazing. But with all the water damage, I actually had to pull it all out and throw it all away. So that stank. So we went down all the way to the subfloor throughout the whole house. So the roofing guys came out, they did their job, they got it up, and it was about 16 grand, if I remember right, 12 to 16 grand to have them finish the framing for the roof, to extend the roof out to the edge where it's supposed to be. The trusses that I ordered didn't come in the right size. They were off by about 1 inch on one side, so they were perfect at the peak, they were perfect on the side, but they were 1 inch lower than the roof on the other side, which means I couldn't use them, and they were engineered for that spot, supposedly. So that really stank. We couldn't use them at all. So we ended up wasting them. They just laid out in the yard. You'll probably see that in some of the pictures I'll show you. And so they just wasted out in the yard. I ended up using the 2x4s later on just for doing random work inside the house. But it was a waste. It was like $700, $800 that went. Anyway, so we got the roof on. While I'm building the roof, it's now about July 2017, July 2017, and I go up to this campsite with my family about once a year for the last several years. And while I was up there, I was sitting around the fireplace talking about my woes about my property and how everything's going, but I'm still pushing along and I'm still going to do it. At this point, I still don't own anything on the house. I'm still working on it myself. Every now and then get some other people to come out and help. And there was somebody sitting at the fire while I was up there, and he says, hey, you know, I could probably help you out with that. And I said, do you have any construction experience? He said, yeah. Since I was like 6, I've been striking a hammer. So I ended up contacting him, and that changed the whole dynamic of the house. The guy that I contacted happened to be Nick from Nick's Fix-It. So he's the owner of the company. It was pretty awesome. So turns out Nick was more than just a guy that did framing or plumbing or whatever. Basically, he does everything. And whatever he didn't know, he would study, and he found out whatever code required. So we got everything fixed up. And so when he first came in onto the scene, we had the wall demolished between the bedroom and the dining room, and we had the wall demolished between the kids' bedroom and the bathroom. But that was it. And it was all brick. This whole house is made of brick. It was built in the 1940s, and it was cinder block walls everywhere, including the shower. The shower pan was about 1 foot, I believe, thick of just concrete. There was a ton of stuff underneath the shower. The shower is built upon 2 layers of 6-inch concrete, so that's about 6 inches, something like that, and it had a lead pan. It was thick in the walls. The whole thing. This house was built so that it would not fall during the millennia. This house was built to last forever as far as the wall construction was, except that the bricks were starting to break and fall apart on the back wall. One of that wall, actually, we built a wall where the kitchen wall was in the front, and the kitchen wall, the exterior wall, we actually took some pipe, some bolts, some super long bolts or whatever, piping, and we pierced the wall in the kitchen, and we turned these bolts to pull the wall back up to where it was supposed to be and cemented it all back in. So the kitchen wall was a mess, but we got it all straightened up again. And that was before we demolished a bunch of other walls. Anyway, so I'm going to show you some video of me knocking down a wall. I'm going to knock from that side toward you, so watch out. Show you some video of us taking the bricks out. So here you see a video of us where we're knocking down the wall right now, And while I'm knocking down this wall, I'm knocking down where the door was, the front door to get into the house. And I lift up the board and I find an Indian head penny from 1902. For those of you that love that kind of stuff, take a look at my metal detecting channel. I'll go ahead and put a link down below or somewhere in here for you. Or you can go to www.watchbob on youtube.com and you can check out my metal detecting channel there. Of all the things you can do in construction, this is one of the most satisfying things that you can do. And honestly, I think it's kind of fun to watch. Hello! You'll notice as I'm tearing down this wall, what I aimed to do was to knock out the lower portion of the wall first, then go to the upper portion, mainly because I had a window behind me. I didn't want to have any shards shooting out behind me and hitting the glass window. So I figured if I could hit the bottom first, take out a bottom chunk, and then take out the top, I could control the fall so it wouldn't lean toward or fall toward the window and break it. Because I had just had all these brand new windows installed. I needed to have those in place because people had been breaking into the house. I wanted to have some kind of security to close up the house. And you'll see in the next episode, as soon as I had all the windows done, very shortly thereafter, I had all the stucco paperwork, the stucco lath installed as well. So it really closed up the house and made it so much safer and more secure. From then on, I didn't have anybody breaking into the house, but it was always a concern. I gotta move you out of the way there, buddy. This brick wall was not very strong. The mortar was pretty weak in between each brick. So it was pretty easy to knock it down and break it down. Not only that, but this brick had been there for 70 years. This house was built in 1945. So taking out this brick was not too difficult for me. And maybe that's because I'm a pretty big dude. Anyway, I hope that you guys have fun watching this. And don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and watch and wait for the next several episodes to come. Pretty soon we're going to have the stucco up, and we're going to start insulating and furring the walls and doing some really, really cool things.
If you stay tuned, I'll be teaching you how to install PEX. I'm going to show you installing electricity. I'm going to teach you how to install ductwork for an HVAC system. I have so much planned for you guys in the next several episodes. It's going to be awesome. So stay tuned. Thanks again for watching.